Jimmy, do you know you're on film? Do you know I turned on the camera?
Yeah, the camera's turned on.
Okay, okay. Do you mind just talking about what happened to you in your building? When was it now? Do you
At the
remember?
Hazelwood?
Yeah.
That was, what, 6 weeks ago?
Oh, no, it was a bit longer now, I think.
Oh, no, 2 months ago.
Okay, what was your
sleeping.
capacity? What was your capacity? Were you a tenant?
I was a tenant living there. Yeah,
okay.
everything was
And how
normal.
long had you been living there?
That would have been a year.
Mm. Okay, and what unit number did you live in?
That's a good question. 211, I think.
He doesn't remember.
I don't remember.
He doesn't remember. That's okay. That's beside the point. But you did live there, right?
Yeah, I just forgot what.
Okay. Anyways, Jimmy, I was gonna say. So tell us what happened. Tell us what led up to you going to bed that night. The last night you were there.
Well, that night there, I was out collecting bottles. Went up to a friend of mine's house, and left.
Did he live in a building?
Pardon me?
Your friend lives there?
He lived up on Caroline and 16th.
Okay,
So I got on my bike, had my pack with me, went up, and he wasn't home, so I got home about midnight, right, and had the pack filled of beverage containers.
Yeah.
And the one guy that worked at the front desk, I told him, I said, did this guy phone or anything, right? And he goes, no. And I said, can you remember his phone number? Because he was one of the guys that used to take the phone messages for me, and he knew Ian's phone number, right?
Okay.
And he says no, and so we kind of had a little brainstorm trying to figure out what it was and stuff, and I said, okay. So I went to bed that night, had the room kind of cleaned up and sort of organized, moved the bed, right, and had because I had the pack, it was a big pack filled with containers, but, so anyway, I was waking up earlier in the morning, and you could hear voices and stuff, but I'm right by the bathroom, so I'm pretty deaf anyway, I had 2 ear infections anyway, so you could hear mumbling and stuff, but it's whatever, normal place of living noise. Went back to sleep, so finally around 4:30, heard more noises and stuff out there, and I got that funny feeling you get inside, you know, like when you're kind of, uh-oh, something's going to happen. And sure enough, what happened was I put my shorts on, got them, then the cops came with their battering ram, smashed in my door, and put me under arrest, dragged me outside in the hallways and all that stuff. I get handcuffed and all this mental health. And I was asked what's going on. They said, you're certified by mental health.
And who came to certify you?
I said, no one came. Nothing's happened. I said, what are you talking about? I've been sleeping. I said, I went to bed last night at midnight, right? Cleaned up the place, tidied it, right? And now you guys are coming. They said, didn't you hear us? We're making this noise. I said, I'm totally deaf. I got 2 ear infections. I said, look, I can't. I told them at the front desk I can't hear nothing. I said, that was you guys? They said, why didn't you answer the door? I said, you know what? I said, if I would answer the door, because I'll say I heard voices, and you guys are saying, oh, you're hearing voices, so you must be psychotic. Right? And I was sitting there laughing like this, and I thought, this is like White Knight, Black Knight with Monty Python. I thought, this is what's going to happen next. I had that feeling. And sure as shit, then the cops come, and here we're living this. Anyway, they take me downstairs finally, and then I'm waiting out front, and I says, what's going on? Where's the ambulance? And they forgot to call the ambulance, the cop said. So we had to wait like 45 minutes for an ambulance. And I said, you guys are telling me I'm mentally ill? When some psychiatrist I never heard of mumbles something through a door to a deaf guy when he's sleeping. And I said, no one's seen me since midnight. Like, what the fuck is going on? So anyway, the cops are looking at each other trying to act like not intelligent, and they're asking me for a cigarette, so it's hard to smoke when you got like handcuffs on. So anyway, then I asked for my shoes, and they brought me down a pair of shoes, but they won't handcuff you to put them on. So there I'm standing there with no shirt on, and my shorts, and the shirt just, well, kind of draped over my shoulder, but not on. And loose shoes, waiting 45 minutes in front of the Hazelwood for the ambulance. Then Dr. MacEwan shows up, and he goes, I certified you. And I says, why?
Is he
I said, I was
doctor?
sleeping. And he said, I told you through the door. And I said, you told a deaf guy that was sleeping through a closed door that you haven't seen physically in 2 weeks or 3 weeks that he's certified under the Mental Health Act? I said, you certified a guy when he's fucking sleeping? And he goes, yeah. And he says, I don't believe you're deaf. So anyway, they take me away in the ambulance. It shows up, like I was saying, it took 45 minutes for the unmentally ill cops to take me to the hospital. In the hospital, I grabbed a nurse, you know, someone that worked there, right? And then they brought a doctor over with that ear examining thing, and they looked at my ear, and they said, you're lucky you can hear anything because you got 2 ear infections, they're plugged solid. And I called the cop over, and I says, nurse or doctor, whatever you are, tell the cop here that says I'm not deaf. And he goes, it's amazing you can hear anything. And I said, you see? So the cop, he kind of took off, and his other cop comes over, and I'm talking to him, And I says, can you imagine that? I said, I get home, everything's normal. You're arresting me. You look in the room, you see my stuff, my pack was there. I'm sleeping like this because the room's small, right? I couldn't put the bed the other way because I was reorganizing or whatever, right? But I was still lying on a full-size bed. Everything was neat. It was clean, right? And you guys do that. And I said, you listen to the psychiatrist, to a deaf guy.
Is Dr. MacEwan your regular doctor?
Right?
How many times?
I've never seen him before. He showed up once before. When I turned my back and I walked across my room, he walked right in my room as if he owned it. Anyway, he says to me once before, he goes, and he mentioned my brother's name. And he says, you're so-and-so. I says, I'm what? And he goes, so-and-so. I said, I'm not that person. And he goes, something else with the name. I said, that's not me. And I looked at him, and I went, well, that's my brother. And I thought, you son of a bitch. You thought I'm my brother? And you're coming over here to harass him because you guys had issues? And I says, then, oh, I understand now what's going on. I said, you would have certified me as revenge because you don't like my brother or something, is what I was thinking in my mind. This is the first time I've said that.
Yeah.
Right? And I said, that's what happened here. I said, because how else, when he said, I don't believe you? Well, anyone would look in my ears, and anyone would listen to the people at the hospital. So I said, yes, of course I'm animated. Of course now I'm psychotic because I'm pissed right off, because why wouldn't you be pissed off? I said, this is the range of emotions. I said, you should phone Ian, the guy that works at Coast Health. He works with MacEwan. And I said, he had to apologize once because he called the cops to me because I mentioned a whole bunch of different words and he only selectively took them out. And the words he used was mass killing or something, right? But he didn't use the whole thing in the context of the conversation. So he phoned up and he was apologizing. He had tears in my eyes about it. And I said, don't apologize to me. Apologize to the cops and apologize to Coast Health and put it on an official record. I said, because then people are going to see it's happened, because that other girl called mental health that day too for another stupid reason, right? So all of a sudden I look like a nut bar, and it's the professionals that are doing it, and they're apologizing to me, but they don't apologize to the professionals, so I look like an idiot.
Yeah.
And no one would check my facts. But I said, as real as those facts are, is the fact that I'm deaf. I'm almost deaf anyway, and now my ears are plugged with whatever. So what are you going to do? And then in the hospital, when I was in the psych ward, then they came and they gave me down to the ear place there, the EMT place, and they washed out my ears, and I had the big stuff, and then they gave me the antibiotics, and they gave me the ear antibiotics, and they cleaned all that big clumps of shit out of my ears anyway, right? So, but anyway, and there you are. So you do your mental health deal, and which is okay. But in the meantime, they come in there, it's like kicking the beehive over, and then complaining that they're stinging you, and you're standing there kicking the hive. Well, get the hell out of there if they're stinging you, and you're shouldn't have done in the first place. But what are you going to do? You just live the life, and I'm not in charge of this journey.
How does it make you feel when you don't have any power over whether anything happens to you or not? Because
well, you lose everything. I just had $100 worth of clothes bought. Everything was taken away. You're strapped down. You're shot in the ass with drugs, and you're held against your will, all because nothing happened. And some guy that's making $14 an hour phones up and says this guy's acting weird, shaking his hand and acting suspicious. Well, on a security tape, it just shows that we're having a conversation and nothing happened. And why would they come from 12 o'clock midnight till this period of time in the afternoon 4, right?
The next day.
And they said my door was barricaded. There was nothing barricaded. There was nothing there. And how would they know if the door is barricaded, right? And I mean, the whole thing is just a total Monty Python episode. But if you show any form of intelligence, right? It's like that. Remember that Zansky guy, that Polish guy at the airport they killed? Everyone lied to their teeth until they got the tape, and then they're starting to suck cock. Right?
Okay, that's good. Okay, thank you.
But anyway, thanks.